Okay, let's get started. So let me first tell you about myself. So hi everyone, my name is Sriram. So these are my competitive scores. I took the GMAT around 1.5 years back, and I scored a 760 with a 50 in quant and a 44 in verbal. I also have taken the GRE and I scored a perfect 170 in the quant section. And again, some of the Indian examinations that I had taken, the scores in that. Coming to the online course, since this is an introduction to the online course per se. So this is the online, these are the details, or so you can see the entire schedule of the online course here. So on the left hand side, you can see the sessions that have been planned out. So I will most probably be sticking to the schedule that I put up. And the sessions will be conducted on the days that I mentioned from 9 to 10:30 p.m. So similar to what we are doing today, right? So this is like a precursor to the online sessions that we will do. And all the sessions will be recorded. You will be able to access them after the session is done, and you can access them any number of times that you wish. Regarding the pricing of this, till the start of the session, I am pricing it at 14,000. If you want to join the sessions after the sessions have started, then you will have to pay 4,000 rupees more. And the last point is that you will get a lot of practice questions. So in case you wish to check any other question or any other topic again, and you wish to, and you want more questions on any topic, feel free to get back to me. I'll be happy to help you. All right. So this is about the online course. And these are certain reviews of the first batch that I conducted around 2 months back. So I just taken a snapshot directly from the Google Drive where the feedback was posted. So probably you can take a look later on once the recording is up. All right, let's come back to the main discussion. So please switch off your video cameras. It's not really required. Let's come back to the session for today, which is set theory. So I will start off with the basics first, and I'll talk a little bit about what are sets, about Venn diagrams, and so on, because I'm not sure of how many of you have already started doing set theory or studying for the GMAT per se. So let me do a little bit of concepts first, and then let me go on to questions. Right. So in terms of concepts, the GMAT will test you on two things. So one is 2 sets, and the other one is 3 sets. Before we come to this, let's talk a little bit about sets per se. So for example, let's say that let A be a set. So a set is nothing but basically a collection of well-defined objects. So let me take A as a set, and let me say that let A be the set of the first 5 even numbers, positive even numbers. Okay. So let A be the set of the first 5 positive even numbers. Now, I hope everyone knows what are even numbers, right? So 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on, so on, if you're talking about positive numbers. So the first 5 positive numbers will be 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, right? Similarly, let B be another set, and let B in this case be the set of the first 5 prime numbers. Again, I hope everyone knows what are prime numbers. So prime numbers are numbers which have only 2 factors, right? So they have only 1 as a factor and the number itself as a factor. So a prime number is a number which is divisible only by 1 and that number itself. So numbers such as 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and so on. So these are all examples of prime numbers. Okay, I hope everyone is clear. Again, if you have any difficulty, if you're not getting anything, feel free to just type in right away and I'll try and explain it then and there. So A is a set of the first 5 positive even numbers. B is a set of the first 5 prime numbers. Now, generally for representing sets, we use something called as a Venn diagram. Right? A Venn diagram is nothing but we just draw a circle, and this circle represents all the elements present in that particular set. For example, in this case, if I start writing for A will contain 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Similarly, I can also write, Purva, 0 is even. 0 is even as per, not only as per GMAT, it's a generic thing. So in math, 0 is always considered to be an even number. All right. So I'm talking about the first 5 positive numbers. Okay. 0 is not positive. So 0 is neither positive nor negative. Fine. So A, this is B. This is 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11. So A contains these 5 numbers. B contains these 5 numbers, but as you can see, there is one element which is common to both, which is 2. So instead of writing it here, I will put that common element. in the intersection of these two, right? So this is 2 here, and I can remove that from both the parts. So this is how I represent sets. Now, as you can see, representing or putting all the values inside the set will be problematic, because then if I have, let's say, if A has 100 elements, now I can't write all the 100 elements in this case instead. So instead, what do? I simply write down the number of elements inside each part, right? So how many elements are here? Okay, let me just draw this again. So if this is A, this is B, how many elements are here? 4. How many element is here? 1. And how many elements are here? 4, right? So instead of writing down the elements, the values of the elements directly, I will simply write down the numbers, the number of elements present. So there are 4 elements in A which belong only to set A. There is 1 element in A which is also common with B, which is 2. And there are 4 elements in B which belong only to B, right? That is my interpretation of this Venn diagram. So this is how we start doing questions on set theory. I hope everyone is comfortable with this. Okay, anyone who didn't get it, anyone who has a problem with this? Okay, I guess not. So this is how we get started with set theory. So this is an example of 2 sets. Now, if I add one more set to this, then it will become an example of 3 sets. For example, if I take one more set, which is C, then I'll get more intersections, right? So we'll come to 3 sets when we tackle 3 set questions later on in the session. But for the time being, let's stick to 2 set questions. So for 2 set questions, we can generally draw the diagram as we have done in this case, or the preferred method on the GMAT is something which is called as a double set matrix. All right, so let me. Yeah, hi, can you hear me again? Yeah, sorry for that. Sorry for the disturbance. Yeah, so in this case, let me just start talking about the double set matrix now. So as I told you, when we talk about 2 sets, A and B, so in this case, we put down the number of elements common to A, belonging to A only here, belonging to B only here, and belonging to both A and B here, right? So we can do the same thing, but we can represent it in the form of a table. So for example, if this is A, I will write down set A here, and I will write the complement of this. So the other side of this, which is not A. Similarly, I'll write down B here, and I'll write the complement of this, which is not B here. Okay. So this is an example of something called as a double set matrix. Basically, both of them are the same thing. You can use either one to do 2 set questions. But then on the GMAT, it's generally preferred to use the double set matrix to solve these kind of questions. Now let's look at what these values represent. So in this case, the value here represents the elements that are common to A as well as B. So it will be this, right? If I compare it with the Venn diagram, it will be the number of elements which are common to A and B both here. Similarly, if I talk about A but not B, okay, A but not B, then in that case it will be this, right? Belonging to A but not belonging to B. So it will be these values. Similarly, here it will be B but not A. So B but not A, again belonging to these values. And again, these are not belonging to A as well as not belonging to B. So values which are outside will come here. Okay. What about this? This is nothing but the total of this plus this. Okay, so this plus this, if I add it up, it gives me the total value of A, which is the value that comes on top. If you remember the example that we did, right? What was it? Here it was 4. Here it was 1. Here it was 4 again. There are 5 total values in A. There are 5 total values in B. So how will I represent the same thing using a double set matrix? I will say that the elements which are common to A and B will be 1. So I'll put 1 here. The elements which are belonging to A but not to B. The elements which are belonging to A but not to B. So A but not B will be 4. Similarly, B but not A. Again, B but not A will be again 4. So this becomes 5. 1 plus 4 becomes 5. And in this case, there was no element which was outside. So this was 0. So this becomes, again, in this case, it becomes 4. So 9, and this is 4. So the totals at the end are always a sum of the elements that you have at the top and on the left hand side, right? So this becomes 1 plus 4, this becomes 5, 4 plus 0 becomes 4, 1 plus 4 becomes 5, and 4 plus 0 becomes 4. And ultimately the totals on both the sides will match and will give you 9 as the answer. Okay, so this is how you do double set, so two set questions. So if you can simply write down the two sets like this, and if you simply start plugging in the values, then you should get the answer at the end. So let's try one question and probably it will be a lot more clear. So let's try this question that is here. So there are, maybe you can just try it out along. So again, how many sets are here? Set A and set B. So what I'll do is I'll simply write A here and I will write the complement of it, which is not A. I'll write B here and the complement of it, which is not B. And I'll start filling in the values. So out of 50 integers, so there are 50 integers in total. So the total, the sum total or the main total will always come at the rightmost bottom, right? So if there are 50 integers in the universe, or if there are 100 students in a school, so that value will always come here. Now the second value is 35 are in set A. So if 35 are in set A, I will not put it here. I'll not put it here. I'll put it here, right? Because 35 are in set A in total. So out of these 35, some belong to B, but some are not in B. So that's why I'll write 35 here. Similarly, 27 are in set B. So 27 are in set B, right? And 15 are in both A and B. So I'll write 15 here. Now it's simply a matter of filling up the table. So if this is 15 and this is 35, this becomes 20. If this is 15 and this is 27, this becomes 12. 27 and 50, the missing value is 23. So 20 and 3, this will be 3. I can also check whether the calculations are back by adding up the remaining value and checking it. So 12 plus 3 gives me 15 and 35 plus 15 is 50. So it matches, right? So the question is how many of the integers are in neither set A nor B? So neither A nor B. So the matching value will be 3. So the answer is 3. Did everyone get this? Anyone who didn't get it, should I explain it again? Or did everyone get this? Okay, one more time. All right. So let's do this one more time quickly. So this is A. Again, I'll write down the two sets as I mentioned earlier. So A, not A, B, not B. So out of 50 integers. So what I'll do is I'll write down the total here, 50. 35 are in set A. So don't make the mistake of writing 35 here because 35 are in set A. So the total of A is 35. Okay. Similarly, 27 are in set B. So the total of B is 27. And 15 are in both A and B. So 15 will come here. Now it's just a matter of filling up the values. So you know that this plus this will give you this. So if 15 plus something gives you 27, then this value should be 12, right? Because 15 plus 12 will then give you 27. Similarly, 15 plus something gives you 35, then this will be 20. Similarly, 35 plus 15 will give you 50. 27 plus 23 will give you 50. And the missing value here will be 20. 20 plus 3 will be 23, right? It's just a matter of just plugging in the values inside this table and then filling it up. So that's it. And you will get whatever value you need. So in this case, you need neither A nor B, which becomes 3. Fine. Take a minute and a half. Please try this first, and then I'll explain this. Okay, once you got the answer, just ping it on the chat window. Okay, yeah, that's correct. 18 should be the answer. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so in these kind of questions or in set theory questions, the first thing that you should do is to identify the sets. So in this case, what are the two sets? One is visited Japan, didn't visit Japan, and the other one is visited China, didn't visit China, right? So these are the two sets that we get. So obviously it's a two-set question. And once I know it's a two-set question, I'll always construct the double set matrix. So I will say Japan, not Japan, China, and not China. Again, just start filling up the values. So as per the results of a survey conducted among 100 participants. So 100 participants, so again 100 will come here. 75 have visited Japan. So 75 will come here. Again, for those of you who didn't get it, please check the calculations and please check the values one more time. So 75 have visited Japan, 54 have visited China, and 47 have visited both these countries. So 47 will come here. Right? I have put down all the values, or I plugged in all the values. Now it's simply a matter of filling up the table. So if this is 75 and this is 47, then this gives you 28. 47 plus 54 will give you 7. 54 plus 100 gives you 46. And 28 plus 18 will end up giving you 46. And you can always do that quick check again. So 7 plus 18 is 25. Of course, 75 plus 25 gives you 100. So the answer is 18. Okay. I hope everyone has got this. So for the people who didn't answer it, I hope you understood, or I hope you realized where you went wrong. Okay. Should we move on? Fine. I hope there are no doubts so far. Okay. Yeah. Please try this. Again, take a minute, minute and a half. Yes, that's correct. Okay. 185 should be the answer. Again, a little bit more intensive in terms of the calculation. So just be a little careful when you are subtracting the values. Okay, take a few seconds more. Okay, fine. I think let me explain this. Again, just check where you have gone wrong. So most probably it would be in terms of calculations only in this kind of a question. So let's do this again. So the first thing to identify will be the two sets. So what are the two sets in this case? So obviously you know that male and female, that's one set that can easily be identified. So let me write that here. And what about the other one? So it will be degree and not degree, right? So there are some people who have a degree, some who don't have a degree. So that will be the other set. So don't write employees, not employees, because nowhere in the question are we talking about some people being not employees, right? So that won't be a set. So in this case, male, female, degree, not degree. This will be the double set matrix. Always remember to put these two columns, or basically these two columns should be complements of each other, right? So if this is male, then this will be female. If this is degree, this is not degree. If this is, let's say, plays tennis, then this will be does not play tennis. It will always be a complement of the other one. So let's put in the values now. So in a company of 500 employees, 240 are male. 170 out of these 500 employees have a degree. So 170 will have a degree. 115 are females with a degree. So females with a degree will be 115. And I need to find out how many males do not have a degree. So I need this value, right? So it's just a matter of, again, filling up the gaps, plugging in the numbers. So if this is 115 and this is 70, then this will be 170 minus 115, which is 55, right? If this is 55, this is 240, how much will this be? 185, right? You can also fill up the entire table, the rest of the table. So this becomes 260, this becomes 330. 260 minus 115 will be 145. So 185 plus 145 adds up to 330. So the values are fine, right? So this is how you start doing it. I'm sure that most of you must have made a mistake in terms of calculations. Was there any other doubt? Is there any other doubt in this? Anything which is not clear? Fine. I hope the problem was only in terms of the calculation, right? Fine. If no one has a problem, then let me move ahead. Okay. In case you have any issues, again, feel free to pause. How to decide vertical and horizontal columns? You can put anything anywhere. Really doesn't matter. I can also put whatever, male, female, a degree, not degree. Hardly going to make a difference, right? Because the values will still remain the same. It really doesn't matter which you put on the horizontal axis, which one on the vertical axis, right? It really doesn't matter. Fine. Okay, so again, two set questions, fairly simple in nature. You will generally get these questions at the lower end of the spectrum. So you will generally get them sub 600 levels and 600 to 700 levels. Generally, 700 plus questions are fairly uncommon. So there will be very few questions which will test you in terms of very high difficulty in two set questions. In three set questions, yes, you will find a few questions which are 700 plus. So let's explain the concept first. Let me draw the concept and let me draw the Venn diagram and let me explain this to you. So for two set questions, we always use the double set matrix. For three set questions, use the Venn diagram. It's much more easier to visualize whatever we need to do. So let's assume that there are two or three elements, three sets A, B, and C. So let's look at these elements or the intersections one by one. So in this case, this value where I'm pointing at right now, those are the elements that belong only to set A, but they don't belong to set B or set C, right? Because the intersection, there is no overlap with the remaining two sets. Similarly, these are the elements which belong only to B. These are the elements which belong only to C, right? What about this? This will be belonging to A and B alone. So A and B, but not C. Yes, correct. So common to A and B, but not C. This will be B and C, but not A. This will be A and C, but not B. And this is common to all the three, A, B, and C. And of course, if there is any value which comes outside, then that is not belonging to either of these three, right? So whenever you see a question which talks about whatever, some elements are in A and B, some elements are in B and C, it's simply a matter of plugging in the values inside these values, and you simply add it up, and then you figure out whatever is required in the question. All right. So let's try this one question first. So there are three sets again. So the first thing, as I told you in set theory questions, identify how many sets are there. So here we have three sets. So when I identify that there are three sets, I will start drawing the Venn diagram for this. So this becomes A, this becomes B, this becomes C. I will write the number of elements belonging to each set just next to whichever set that number belongs to. So in this case, A contains 20 elements. So I'll write 20 just next to A. B contains 30. So I'll write 30 next to B. And C contains 40. So I'll write 40 next to C. Right? Now, what does the next line say? 5 elements are in both A and B. Okay. So where should I put 5? Should I put it here? Okay. Should I put 5 here? Okay. What do you think? Should I put it here? The answer is no. Okay. I should not put it here. The reason being that if I tell you that 5 elements are in both A and B, what is A and B? Both. It is this as well as this, right? Because this does not tell me that A and B alone. It does not tell me that 5 elements are in A and B alone. So if it tells me that 5 elements are in A and B alone, so A or A and B but not C, then I'll put it here. But if the language is this way, it's in this format, if it tells me that 5 elements are in both A and B, then it includes these two sets. So that means this plus this equals to 5, right? So that is the reason why in such questions, I should be very careful of not plugging in the value directly here. I hope everyone got this. Okay, anyone who didn't get it? Should I explain this again one more time? Okay, fine. You got it, right? So 5 elements are in both A and B. So in this case, I won't put 5 here, okay, because this plus this equals to 5. So the first thing that I will do in such questions is to put this middle value here. So the element that belongs to all the three sets, I'll plug that in so that then I can fill up the remaining values. So in this case, what is the number that belongs to all the three sets? So 4 elements are in all the three sets, right? So I'll put 4 here. Now if 5 elements are in both A and B, then I know that this is going to be 1 because this plus this will then be 5. Similarly, if 6 are in B and C, so if 6 are in B and C, so this entire thing is 6. Out of that, this much is 4. So this will be 2. Similarly, 9 are in A and C. So if 9 are in A and C, out of 9, out of this total thing, this total is 9. Out of that, 4 is here. So this will be 5. Right? Now it's very simple. I know that A is 20. So A will be this plus this plus this plus this. A includes the entire thing, right? So then if this plus this plus this plus this is 20, how much will this missing value be? Okay, just tell me what will be the value. Perfect. 10, right? So 5 plus 4 plus 1 is 10. Out of 20, 10 is here. So the remaining 10 has to be here. Similarly, out of 30, 7 is here. Right? 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. Out of 30, 7 is here. So the remaining 23 will come here. Out of 40, 11 is here. So 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. So out of 40, 11 is here. So the remaining 29 will come here. Fine. Now the question is how many elements are there in total? Assuming all the elements are at least in one of these sets. So what will you do? You will simply add up the values, right? So yes, 74 should be the answer. Is it 74 or is it 75? Okay, anyway, let's see. So in this case, you simply have to add up all the values. So how will you add it up? Again, I can do this. I can do 29 plus 5 plus 4 plus 2 plus 23 plus 1 plus 10. But the easier way out is to simply understand that this entire circle is 40. So I already have the total value here, right? So I won't count them separately. So I know that this entire thing is 40. So 40 plus 10 is 50. 50 plus 1 is 51. Plus 23 is 74. You are right, Apurva. Okay. So 74 is the answer. Fine. Is everyone clear with this? I hope there are no issues. I hope everyone is following this. In case you have anything, just feel free to let me know again. Fine. Should we move on? Anyone who didn't get it? Okay, fine. I think everyone has understood. So again, in case you are not getting anything, again, feel free to stop. So this is the one part of three-set Venn diagrams. Let's do a similar question to what we have solved here. So this is a question from the GMAT prep software. Take a look, try this out, take 2 minutes. Yes, the session is already on. So we have covered two-set questions, two-set Venn diagram. Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, whoever is typing. So can you hear me now? Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah, so we have already started the session. We have done two-set questions, Venn diagram questions, two-set double set matrix questions, and we are now on three-set questions. All right, so you have missed a little bit, but not a problem. I have recorded the session, so I'll be uploading it anyway on the group, so you can watch it later on, the missed part. No, I think both of you have made a small mistake. It is number of students who like none or only one. Okay, so it's not only one, which is what I think both of you have, found out. Yeah, so how to find none. So I'll come to that. For the others who are trying it out, I'll just give a few seconds more. Please try it. Okay, I think let me solve this. Again, you can check the method, or you can check whatever you worked out and probably see till where you reached. And you can probably identify any mistakes that you have done in case you have done it. So again, it's a three-set question. So let me draw the three sets. So let this be pizza. This is the other one, and this is the last one. So PHT. Yeah, that's correct. 20 should be the answer, right? So let's put these values down. So pizza is 48. This is 45. This is 58. So 28, like these two, I will not put 28 here because 28 is common to both the parts, right? So what will I do? I will put the middle value first. which is 25. So I'll put 25 here first. Then what will this become? So 28 like pizza and the other one. So if these two are 28, if this is 25, then this will be 3. Similarly, if this is 37, this plus this is 37. If this is 25, then this will be 12. Similarly, if this is 40 and this entire thing is 40 and if this is 25, then this will be 15. I hope everyone has got to this point. Okay, you should have reached at least to this point. Fine. Now it's simply a matter of plugging in the values similar to what we did. So this entire thing is 48. So you know that 15 plus 25 plus 3 plus this value will be equal to 48. So 15 plus 25 is 40. 40 plus 3 is 43. So these three will be totaling up to 43. So the remaining value should be 5 so that it adds up to 48. Right? Similarly, what about this case? 45 in total. So this is 25. This is 3. So this becomes 28. 28 plus 12 will give you 40. So 40 plus 5 will give you 45. Right? Similarly, the last part, 25 plus 15 will be 40. 40 plus 12 will be equal to 52. So 52 plus 6 will give me 58. Okay. I hope everyone got till this point. So you can just check the values once. So what will we do next? The thing that we have to do next is to figure out how many like none of these, right? None of the foods. So we need to find the value which is outside. So what will I do for that? I'll simply start totaling up these values as we did in the previous question. Again, remember what I said, when totaling it up, don't total the individual values. Take the set which has the highest number. So in this case, this is 58. So I know that this entire circle is 58. So the remaining will be 58 plus 5, which is 10. So 58 plus 10 will be 68. 68 plus 3 will be 71. So this entire thing is 71. But I have been told that there are 75 students. So this entire thing is 71. So that means 71 like at least one of the foods. Out of 75 students, at least out of 75 students, 71 students like at least one of these 3 foods. That means the remaining 4 students who are there will not like any of these foods, right? So you're right. 4 should be the value which comes outside. Did everyone get this? Okay, anyone who didn't get it? Basically, what I'm doing is I'm adding up all these values, and the addition of all the values gives me 71. But then I know that there are 75 students. So then the remaining 4 should be the students who don't like any of these foods, right? So 4 will come outside, right? Now it's simple. Now the question is fairly straightforward. So the question is how many of the students like none or only one of the foods. So none I know is already 4. Only one will be 5 plus 5 plus 6, right? 5 plus 5 plus 6. So 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 6, which is, this is 10, this is 10. So 10 plus 10 is 20. Okay. Slightly difficult question. This is probably a 700 plus question. A slightly difficult question because of the none part of it. So usually people will arrive at the easy part, which is this, but then figuring out 4 probably may be a little difficult. So that's the reason why this is a little bit higher on the difficulty scale. I hope everyone has got this. Any doubt in this? Anything that I should explain again? Anything which is not clear? I hope everyone got why this is 4. Okay, fine. Should I move on? Okay, fine. I hope, yeah, great. I hope people who are not replying, so there are a few more people who are not replying. So I hope everyone is getting this. So I hope there's no one who is absolutely clueless about this, right? Yeah, great. So let's come to another concept. So in terms of 3-set questions, the one that we saw earlier in the previous slide, that was the comparatively easy question type, where we simply have to plug in the values, add them up, and then whatever is missing, that will be what we require. So that is a fairly simple concept. The more difficult kind of question is this, right? So if I tell you that there is a school in which there are 100 students, and there are 3 sports which are being played by these students. So let's say football, hockey, and cricket. So if I tell you 70 people play football, 70 of these students play football, 60 of the students play cricket, 50 of the students play hockey, and if I tell you that there are 5 students who play all the 3, the question will be how many play exactly 2 of the sports. So the question is how many play exactly 2. So if I have to find out how many play exactly 2, then it will be this plus value plus this, right? So how will I find that out? If I'm using, if these are the values, add rest of the 3. Not really, right? So if you're adding, so I didn't get you completely, but yeah, so not a problem. So see, basically the point in this case is that this plus this is what you have to find out, which is exactly 2. Now the problem is how will you do this? Because I know that this plus this is 70. Again, this plus this is 60 and so on. Yeah, but you can't take one variable, right, Apurva? You have to take more than one, because where will I put that one variable? So for example, if I take this as A, then I need one more variable, right, at least. So if I put this as B, then this will become 70 minus A minus B minus 5 and so on, right? But then again, I'll have to put more variables here. So then I have to take C here, I have to take D here, then E here and F here. So then I have to add up. So I'll say A plus B plus E plus 5 is 70, B plus E plus Y plus D is 60, and so on. You can see it becomes a mess because you are having 6 variables. So then it will be a real problem to tackle this kind of a question. So obviously these kind of questions are a little tough and they are 700 plus, but fortunately there is an easy way out in this case. So let me explain the concept first, and then we will solve a question of this format. So let me just wipe this out first. Yeah, so I'll explain the theory. Again, I'll go slowly. Try and follow along. If you are facing any problem, just stop me right then and there. I'll explain it again. All right. So let me draw the 3 sets again. So A, B, and C. Okay, let me start labeling the individual parts. So I will call this as 1A. That is the elements which are only a part of one set, which is A. This is 1B. This is 1C. Okay, so just giving labels to each of these regions. So this is 1B, that is the number of elements which belong to only one set, that is B. Number of elements that belong to only one set, that is C. Similarly, I will call this as 2AB. I will call this as 2AC. I'll call this as 2BC, right? So the number of elements which are belonging to A and B. Okay, so 2AB is only this region. Okay, so only the region here. It doesn't include this middle part. So 2AB is only this, 2AC is only this, 2BC is only this. So 2AB belonging to 2 sets A and B, belonging to 2 sets A and C, belonging to 2 sets B and C. And let me call this as 3. Okay, 3 or 3 ABC really doesn't matter because there is only one region which is common to all the 3 sets. Is this fine? So I'm just giving labels to each of these sets or each of these regions. Now what I'll do is I will add up these 3 sets in 2 different ways. So the first way in which I'll add them up will be with repetition. Okay, so I'm adding them up with repetition. As you can see, so if I ask you what is A is nothing but 1A plus 2AB plus 3 plus 2AC, right? So A will be all the elements which belong inside the circle. Similarly, B will be all the elements inside the circle, and C will be all the elements inside the circle. Now, as you can see, the elements which are overlapping, they will repeat, right, every time. So 2AB is part of A as well, 2AB is part of B as well. But it doesn't matter to me in this case. If I'm doing it with repetition, then I will simply take the elements as they come. So even if it repeats, it really doesn't matter to me. Fine. So let's do the addition first. So what is A? 1A plus 2AB plus 2AC plus 3, right? Okay. Next will be B, 1B plus 2BC plus 2AB plus 3 plus 1C plus 2AC plus 2BC plus 3, right? So this is A plus B plus C with repetition. I hope everyone got it. Any problem in this? I'm simply adding up the elements belonging to each, right? Now what I'll do is I'll just rearrange this a little bit. So this is what I have. I will take these three common. What is this? 1a plus 1b plus 1c. I will call this as 1. That means the elements which belong to only one set. The sum of the elements which belong to only one set. So I'll call that as 1. Right? So 1 will be nothing but 1a plus 1b plus 1c. Similarly, I will add this up. What is this? 2ab plus 2bc plus 2ac. Isn't this the sum of all the elements belonging to exactly two sets? So I will call this as 2. What do I have next? 2ac plus 2ab plus 2bc. Again, the same thing as this. So again, this will be 2. And 3 plus 3 plus 3. So 3 times 3. Is this step fine? Okay, any doubt here? I'm just rearranging, or I'm just calling this as 1, the addition of all the one set elements. I'm calling this as 2, the addition of all the two set elements. And anyway, this is 3, right? So this becomes 1 plus. Okay, just bear with me. I will tell you how this is useful. So let's derive this first, understand the logic first, and then we can use the formula directly later on. But just understand the logic first. So I will call this as t, which is a plus b plus c with repetition. So t is equal to 1 plus 2 times 2 plus 3 times 3. Fine. Let me do the same thing now again. But this time I will do it without repetition. So what is a plus b plus c without repetition? That means I will not count or I'll not double count or triple count any element. I'll count the elements only once. So this is simple, right? It's nothing but 1a plus 1b plus 1c plus 2ab plus 2ac plus 2bc plus 3. Right? I'm just adding up all the elements. 1a plus 1b plus 1c plus 2ab plus 2ac plus 2bc plus 3. 7 elements. I'm adding them all here. Okay. One thing that I forgot to tell you, I'm assuming that right now there is 0 outside. Okay. So there is no element which is lying outside these three sets for the time being. Okay. I'll explain that later on. But for the time being, this is 0. Fine. So a plus b plus c without repetition is this. What is this? 1a plus 1b plus 1c. As per what we did here, 1, right? Perfect. What is this? 2. And I have 3. Let me call this as S. Okay, so this is 1. This is 2. I will simply do 1 minus 2. So what do I get by doing 1 minus 2? I get T minus S will be equal to 1 and 1 will get cancelled out. I will also have 2 times 2 minus 1 times 2, which will give me 2, and 3 times 3 minus 1 times 3, which will give me, right? So T minus S gives me 2 plus 2 times 3. Fine, this is the equation which I derived, and this is what we'll be using in those kind of questions that I explained or that I just mentioned, right? So you need to know this and you need to know this. So you need to know these two things, right? You need to know that S is equal to 1 plus 2 plus 3, and you need to know that T minus S is 2 plus 2 times 3. Fine. So this is a derivation about of what we wanted. Now let me explain what T is and let me explain what S is and how we will use this in questions. So I'll go back to that same example that I talked about. So let's say that there are 3 sets. There are 100 students. Let this be hockey. Let this be 70. Cricket is 60. And football is 50. Let's say there are 5 which are common to all the 3. So this is what I have. Now in this case, what is S? S is simply the addition of all the elements without repetition. So if I'm adding up all the elements without repetition and if there is nothing else outside, what will it add up to? If I'm adding up all the elements here, this plus this plus this plus this, only once without taking any overlaps, what will it add up to? It'll add up to 100, right? Right? So 100 is a number of students. And if I simply add them up with, and this is 0 here outside. So if I add them up, then it will be 100, right? So S becomes 100 in this case. What about T? T is nothing but the addition of the 3 sets, including the overlap. So T is nothing but this plus this plus this, right? So in this case, it is nothing but 70 plus 60 plus 50, which is 180. So t minus s will be equal to 80, and 80 is equal to 2 plus 2 times 3. Okay, so what is 2? As per what we defined here, 2 is nothing but this plus this plus this. Yeah, so as I mentioned, right now, for the time being, we are only talking about people who are playing. So I'm assuming this is 0, right? I will come back to the or let me come back to the part when there is some value here. But for the time being, for the sake of understanding, I don't want to confuse you. So for the time being, let's take this as 0. Okay, so once we solve 1 or 2 questions, I will tell you what we do when this becomes a number. Fine. So for the time being, let's take this case. So 80 will be equal to 2 plus 2 times 3. Now in this case, I know that what is 3? It is 5, right? 5 element, or the number 5. 5 people play all the 3 sports. So this becomes 2 plus 2 into 5. So what is 2? The number of people who play exactly 2 sports. It will be 80 minus 10, which is 70. Fine. So a very simple, very easy way to find out or to do such questions. You can solve such questions within 10 to 15 seconds if you know the method. So a 700 plus question, you can solve it in whatever 10, 15 seconds, and you can save a lot of time by doing this instead of using the variable approach that we talked about earlier, right? So fairly simple, fairly straightforward. If you want, anyway, the session is getting recorded, but for the time being, if you want, you can take a screenshot of it if you want, and we'll be using this in the few questions that we will see from now on, right? So there are 2 things that you need to know, this and this. If you know this, then you can use, or you can plug in the values and you can get anything that you require. Fine. I hope everyone got this. Variable approaches, the one that I told you, right? You put A, you put B, you put C, right? That one, 6 variables, and then you try and solve it. Okay, so of course, that I don't think anyone will try that now. So you really don't need to do that. So as long as you use this, you should be able to get the answer within a few seconds. Fine. I hope everyone got this. No confusion. In case there's something which is still not clear, again, take a look at the video one more time and probably you will be able to understand. I think this went a little bad. So let me just write this again. So this was 2 plus 2 into 5, right? Because 5 is nothing but the number of elements which are belonging to all the 3 sets. So 80 will be equal to 2 plus 2 into 5, or 80 will be nothing but 2 plus, this is 10. So what is 2? 80 minus 10, which is 70. Right? So 70 is the answer. So in case the question was how many people play exactly, or how many students play exactly 2 of the sports. Yeah. So in this case, then we do this. Right? Of course, there are variations in the question that we will see in the next few questions that we will encounter. Right? So if this is fine, let me go to the questions, and probably once we solve it, then we'll be able to solve these questions very, very easily. Fine. Should I move on? Anything which is not clear for anyone? Okay, great. Let me move on. Yeah, please try this. Okay, take a minute and a half. Try and get this on your own, and I'll explain this once you're tried it out. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, 20, right? So a 650 plus question solved in seconds. So if you know this method, then it's fairly easy to solve these kind of questions. Okay, don't forget the 2 times 3 part. So t minus s will be equal to 2 plus 2 times 3. Okay, so don't forget the 2 times 3. That is a common mistake that a lot of people do. Perfect. 20. Okay. Yeah, great. Okay, I'll give a few seconds more in case someone is still trying it. Okay, fine. I think let's try this. So in case someone has not got it or anyone who's stuck. So what will we do? Again, in a group of 65 avid readers, so S becomes 65, 22 have read Airframe, 32 have read Jurassic Park, 41 have read Sphere. So T becomes 22 plus 32 plus 41. Okay, how much is this? So this will be 54. 54 plus 41 will be 95. T minus S will be equal to 2 plus 2 times 3. T in this case is 95. S is 65. And what is to be 2 is to be found out. And I know 3 because 5 I have read all the 3 books. So this will become 2 into 5, right? So this is 30 will be equal to 2 plus 10 or 2 is equal to 20. Fine. So easy way to solve these kind of questions. So 2 will be equal to 20. So that exactly, so 20 of these readers have read exactly 2 of the books. Fine. Try this question. Yeah. So slight variation in this question, right? You need to find out how many play exactly one sport. So proceed the normal way as we did it in the earlier question. So first figure out, you have been given 2, 50 prefer exactly 2 of the sports. So find out exactly 3 first using the formula that we know. Yeah, that's right. 150 is the answer. That's perfect. Okay, so find out 2 first, find out 3 first. You already know 2. So you need to find out 1. So what will you do? You will simply use the formula for S. S is equal to 1 plus 2 plus 3, right? Okay, again, take a few seconds. Try this out. Okay, let me explain this. So in case someone is still stuck, you can just check this out. So S is 250, right? What is T? 114 plus 130 plus 106, which gives me 350, right? So T will be equal to 350. So what is T minus S? 350 minus 250, which is 100. So 100 will be equal to 2 plus 2 times 3. And I know that 2 is equal to 50. So 100 will be equal to 50 plus 2 times 3. So 3 will be equal to 100 minus 50 is 50. 50 by 2 is 25. Right? Oh, sorry. This is this right? Yeah, should be correct. No? This is T is equal to 350. This is 250. So Yeah, correct. Fine. So the 3 will be equal to 25. Perfect. So 2 will be equal to 50 is already given. Now I know I have to find out 1. So S is equal to 1 plus 2 plus 3. So what is S? 250. 1 is what I have to find out. This is 25 and this is 50. Okay. So it doesn't give you 150, right? Then in that case. Yeah, 150 is wrong. Okay, 150 is incorrect. So this will be 250 minus 75. Yeah, so this gives you 175. Okay, 175 should be the answer. Sorry for that. I thought it should be 150. No, 175 is the answer, right? So probably both of you who said 150, can you just check what went wrong? I think you must have done 150 is equal to 50 plus 2 times 3 probably. Maybe you wrote this as 150 instead of 100. I think then you would probably end up getting 150 as the answer. Oh, okay, fine. Okay, you wrote it as 2 times 3. Fine. Oh, okay, great. Okay, Akash, I think you missed out quite a lot. So not a problem though. I mean, it's a little difficult for me to repeat everything. But what you can do is I recorded the session. So once the session recording is done, I will be uploading it on the group. Okay, this one. Okay, fine. So S is 250. Did you understand the method? Were you there when I explained this method? If you weren't there, then it will be a little difficult for me to explain this to you. Yeah, so I think just wait for the recording. So just bear with me because it will be a little difficult for me to explain the entire thing again. So I'll put it up on the group. You can take a look. And in case you still have any queries, feel free to reach out to me. Okay. So anyway, in this case, the answer should be 175 and not 150. Fine. Any other issues in this? Again, this is one slight variation, right? So the usual question is either finding out 2 or 3. The variation in this case was to find out for exactly 1, right? So let me go back to that question which was asked regarding what happens if something is outside. So let me just clear this part first. Yeah. So in these cases or in these questions, whatever we did, in these questions, you always had this, right? Yeah, actually, in this case, the question should have mentioned that all of them prefer uh, at least one of these sports, as it mentioned in this question, right? So in this question, it says each person has read at least one of the 3 books. So you have to have this part mentioned. In case this part is not mentioned, then there could be a possibility that there are some people who are outside the sets. That means people who don't read any of these 3 books. So let me come back to that part, which someone was asking me about. So there are 3 sets, A, B, and C. What happens if there is a value outside? So for example, let's take this as 70, let's take this as 60, let's take this as 50. And let's say that there are 100 students in this. Now, if I tell you that there are 5 students who don't play any of these 3 sports, my question is, which value will you change? Will you change T? Will you change S? Will you change, or what change will you do? Or will you change it in the first place, or will you just keep it the same? Okay, any audio problems? Is it better now? Can you hear me now? Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now? Yeah, a bit of problem with the connection, I guess. So anyway, so as I was telling you, this is A, B, and C. If this is 100 and if this is 5, so let's assume, I'll just repeat this in case anyone missed it. So the same thing, what I explained again with the 3 sports. So there are 70 people who play sport A, 60 who play sport B, and 50 who play sport C. And there are 100 students in the class. Now, there are 5 people who are outside. That means 5 students don't play any of these sports. Now, the question is, in this formula, T minus S will be equal to 2 plus 2 times 3. What will I change? Is the question. Okay, can anyone tell me? What value will change, or will anything change in the first place? Okay, any idea? Subtract 5, correct? From where? From which value? No. No, no. From both, then it won't create any problem, right? I mean, it won't. Yeah, from S. That's correct. Okay. You will subtract it from S. What's the logic? Remember when we were talking about S, what did we do? S is nothing but this plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this, right? Addition of all the 7 regions. So I'm only concerned about what lies here for S. So that means in this case, if there are 5 which are lying outside, so the remaining 95 students will be inside, right? Out of 100 students, if 5 are outside, then 95 will be inside. So I will simply take S as 95 in this case. I'll proceed with T normally. That's the only change that I will do in such questions. Fine. Whenever there is any value which is given for the number of students who play none of the sports or who read none of the books, in that case, I'll simply subtract that value from the value here. That will be my modified S value. Fine. That's the only change. So for someone who was asking me about this, this is the only change that you will do. Otherwise, a normal method remains the same. Where we need to find out none, yeah, it could be possible. It could be possible. But in that case, what will you do? You will find out 2 normally, right? You will find out 3 normally. So it depends on the kind of question that is there. So I can take this value as, so for example, if I don't know what this value is, I will find out T normally, and I will take this as whatever, 100 minus X. And I will solve for this, 2 plus 2 times 3. Then I will be given some of these values. Okay, so only one variable will be missing in that situation. Fine. Yeah, just got, I think, a couple of practice questions. Please try this. Again, whenever you see a set theory question, find out how many sets are there in the first place. Okay. If there are two sets, then use a double set matrix. If there are 3 sets, then you use a Venn diagram. Fine. Please try this. Okay. Anyone who got the answer for this? Again, a slight variation in the normal question. So the question is at least how many applicants will get the admission. So the minimum number, right? At least how many. So what will be the minimum number of students who get, or the minimum number of applicants who will get the admission, right? Yeah. Any answers? No. Not 8. 12 is the most common incorrect answer. So 12 is also wrong. Fine. Let me discuss this. I think this is a slightly tricky question. Yeah, 0. That's right. 0 should be the answer for this question. Okay. So 0 should be the answer. Slightly difficult question. Again, once you see this kind of a question, once you do it, so if we do it now, I don't think you will make a mistake again. So same thing. S is 40. What is T? 15 plus 17 plus 20 should be 52. So I get 12 will be equal to, yeah. Yeah. So minimum number, right? Once you got that, probably I think that then it was easy. But anyway, so 12 is equal to 2 plus 2 times 3. Fine. I think everyone arrived at this point. Now the question is, or you don't have the value of either of these, right? You don't have 2 and you don't have 3. But the question tells you at least how many applicants get the admission. That means minimum, right? The minimum number of candidates or the number of applicants who will get the admission. And when will a person get the admission? Only with 3 interviewers, admission can an applicant be admitted, right? So that means I need to find out what is the minimum value of 3. What is the minimum value of 3 in this case? It will be 0, right? Because if the minimum value is 0, then 2 will become 12, which is possible. So in this case, the minimum value of 3 will be 0. That is the reason why at least how many applicants get the admission. So there could be a possibility where none of the applicants will get the admission, right? That's the reason why the answer is 0. Everyone got this? Okay, so 2 plus 2 times 3 will be equal to 12. I need to find out what is the minimum value of 3. So if I want to find out what is the minimum value of 3, then in that case, I will simply put 3 as 0. That's it. And I will check if 2 is possible. So in this case, 2 is 12. Of course, it is possible. Let's take a variation of this question. If I ask you how many applicants or what is the maximum number of applicants who can get the admission, what is the answer? Perfect. 6, right? So 2, I will put 2 as 0 then in that case. So 2 times 3 will be equal to 12. So 3 will be equal to 6. That's correct. I hope everyone got this. Okay, again, slight variations in these questions. Again, these are tougher questions. Probably you will not encounter them. Commonly, you will see them only rarely. So once you get this, I think the logic is fine. You should be clear with this. Okay. Okay, this is a DS question. I hope. Yeah. Okay. Let me just go back. Can you repeat the latter question? So the other question type was basically instead of minimum, it was maximum. So this is what we got. In this case, in the first case, we found out the minimum value for 3. In the second case, I'm telling you what is the maximum possible value for 3. So for the maximum possible value of for 3, I will minimize this, right? If I want to maximize this, I'll obviously minimize this. What is the minimum value of this? 0. So then it will become 2 times 3 will be equal to 12. So the maximum value of 3 is nothing but 6. So maximum of 6 applicants can be admitted, right? Okay, did you get it? Basically minimum and maximum. So in this case, we found out the minimum. The second type that I discussed was the maximum, right? So you just have to vary or just put 1 as minimum, 1 as maximum and so on. Fine. So this is a category of question called as a data sufficiency question. So if you have already started preparing for the GMAT, then you would know what this is. Okay. In case you have not started and this is the first session that you are attending, then let me explain this a little bit. So in the normal question type, the questions that we saw earlier, you simply have a question and then you have 5 options. You have to simply select one of the 5 options. In this case, this is a data sufficiency question. So as the name suggests, you're only finding out if the statements given here are sufficient to answer the question. So you will be given some data and you will be asked a question. So in this case, the question is this: how many of these students study both marketing and finance? And what you have to do is to figure out whether the statements given below are sufficient to answer the question. So there are 5 answer options that are common, and these will always remain fixed. So it makes sense to sort of memorize them or to by heart them, or you will get a hang of it once you keep solving questions. So these are the 5 options that you have: A, B, C, D, and E. So what is A? Only 1 is sufficient to answer the question. That means if I take the information given in 1, and if I get a unique value of this answer, then I will tell you that 1 alone is sufficient to answer the question. And if 2 alone, if I take this statement, and if it is not sufficient, then I'll mark A as the answer. Okay, I hope everyone got this. So A is basically 1 alone is sufficient to answer the question, but 2 alone is not. Similarly, B, only 2 is sufficient to answer the question. Okay, but 1 is not. So if I get the information or if I get the answer using this statement alone, then I'll mark B as the answer. What is C? C is 1 and 2 alone are not sufficient. But if I combine the information If I combine the information in 1 and 2, and if I'm able to answer the question, then I'll mark C as the answer. What about D? D is 1 alone is also sufficient and 2 alone is also sufficient. So if I check each of these statements alone, I will be able to answer this question, right? And E is the simplest. E is neither. That means 1 alone is also not sufficient, 2 alone is also not sufficient. And even if I combine the information given in these two statements, it is still not sufficient to answer the question, right? So these are the 5 answer options. They will always remain fixed on the GMAT. So it makes sense to sort of remember this. You should not be going back to the instructions and checking which answer option is which one, right? So A is 1 alone is sufficient, B is 2 alone is sufficient, C is you need to combine the information in both, D is either 1 alone is sufficient, and E is neither, right? That means even if you combine them, you won't get the answer, right? Any doubts in this? So the objective in this case is to figure out whether you can get a unique value of the answer. The objective is not to actually find out the answer. As long as you can figure out whether you will be able to get a single unique value of the answer, then in that case, that much is enough, right? So let's do this. No. So neither of you are right. Okay, it's not A, it's not E. No. In fact, all of you are wrong. So it's not A or E. Yeah, D is the answer. Perfect. Okay, D is the answer. Let's see why. So in such questions, whenever you see a DS question, again in this case there are 2 sets, right? So you construct a double set matrix. So this is marketing. This is not marketing. This is finance. This is not finance. So what will I do? I will simply put the values, plug in the values given here in this question. So 300 students study marketing or finance or both. So of course 300 comes here. 100 of these students do not study marketing, so 100 will come here. And the question is how many study both marketing and finance. So you need to figure this out. So if this is 300, this is 100, then this becomes 200, right? The mistake that I should not do in these kind of questions is to incorporate information in both and then mark either A or B as the answer, which is very common mistake. So the easiest thing to avoid this is to simply replicate the information in another table. Okay, so you simply do another table and you sort of copy the information, whatever you have marked there, and you put this down here. So I will use this table for statement 1, I'll use this table for statement 2. That will ensure that the values don't get mixed and matched. So in this case, let me use the first one. So out of the 300 students, 50 do not study finance. So 50 do not study finance, right? So then this will become 250. But then I don't have any of these values here. So how can I find this out? That is probably where a lot of people marked either whatever, E as the answer, I guess. Okay. So there is one value which you have missed out from the question. What is that value? So you need to sort of read the question, or you need to keep a little, you need to be a little wary of these kind of traps that you will see. So here it says 300 students study marketing or finance or both, right? Marketing or finance or both. So marketing or finance or both. What does this mean? There is no student in this B school who studies neither marketing nor finance, right? So if I tell you that there are students who study either marketing, or there are students who study either finance, or they study both, there is no person in this B school who studies neither marketing nor finance. So this becomes 0 here, this becomes 0 here. Is this fine? I hope you understood why this value should be 0. Because it says marketing or finance or both, right? So either a person studies marketing, or the person studies finance, or the person studies both. In that case, the values will only come in these 3 boxes. There will be no value which can come here. So this will become 0. Now if this is 0, then I can fill up this value. This becomes 100. This becomes 150. So yes, I get a unique value. So one is sufficient. What about 2? 250 study finance. So this becomes 50. This is 50. This is 150. Again, 2 is also sufficient. So each one individually sufficient. Then answer option is D. Right? I hope everyone got this. So DS is a little tricky. It takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but you need to start solving questions. Only then will you understand how to approach these kind of questions, right? So in this case, the answer is D for this. Anyone who didn't get it? Any doubts with this? If the answer was different, then what would you select? You mean 150 and 150 here? If this were to be 140, is that what you mean? You won't get that. On the GMAT, if you are marking D, the answers will match. In fact, that's a good way of checking whether what you marked is correct. So if D is the answer, then take it as a rule. If D is the answer, then you will always have the answers coming out to be the same. Okay. Very, very rarely will you ever see the answers not matching. In fact, none of the cases will you ever see a question in which the values will be different and the answer is D. Okay. Second statement, how come not study finance is 50? So total of 250 study finance. So this is 250. If this is 300, then the remaining will be 50, right? Okay. I hope you got it. So if this is 300, if this is 250, then this will be 50, right? Yeah. Yeah. So Rohit, as I told you, yeah, even Venn diagram, as I explained right at the start. So you can use the Venn diagram as well. But in such questions, the recommendation is always to use a double set matrix, at least for the GMAT. So for DS, generally, it's always a little better to use the double set matrix. But in case you are comfortable using the Venn diagram, go ahead with it. Okay, there's no problem as such. Okay, if using the first statement, we get 150, and using second case separately, we get 120. That won't be the case. Yes, that's what I mean. So you won't get 120 as the answer for the second case, right? You will be getting 150 only. So whenever you get answer option D, you will see this. The moment you start solving questions from the official guide and from other sources, whenever you get answer option D, you will get the answer to be the same using both the statements. You will never get different answers. Fine? Right. Okay, I think this is the last question. Please try this, and then we will stop once we do this. Yeah, that's right. Okay, 180 should be the answer. Uh, these kind of questions, see, basically you have on the quant per se, you have 37 questions to be done in 75 minutes. So you get around 2 minutes per question. But if you can solve these kind of questions in around 20-25 seconds, which is easily possible, right? I mean, 20, 25 or 30 seconds, then in that case, you save a lot of time for the remaining questions. So ideally, if you can solve this question in 30 seconds, then I think you are doing really well. You can, whatever, you have a lot of buffer remaining for the rest of the questions. Right? What about the others? Are you getting the answer? Okay, I hope everyone noticed that this is percentages. And the number there is a number, right? Yeah, Ayush, can you just give me a minute? Let me explain this question and then I can open the session for doubts. All right, so let me just finish this first. So in this case, I hope everyone got this, right? Percentages and numbers. So how did you solve this? Did you try and convert the percentages into numbers? So 40 becomes 120, 30% becomes 90 and so on. Okay, is that how everyone is trying to get this? Probably that's not the best way. I mean, that will give you the answer, but then you are doing additional calculation, right? So the easier way or the better way out is to keep everything in terms of percentages. So I will take S, instead of taking it as 300, I will take it as 100%, right? So what does T become? 40 plus 30 plus 75, which is 145. So what is T minus S? 45. 45 will be 2 plus 2 times 3. And 2 is nothing but 35. So 3 will be equal to 10 by 2, which is 5. Right? So this is 5%. 2 is given as 35%. So what is 1? 5 plus 35 plus 1 will give me 100%, right? S is equal to 1 plus 2 plus 3. So what is this? This plus this is 40. And 100 minus 40 will end up giving me 60%. So 1 is 60%. So how many number of students will study? 60 by 100 into 300, which is 180. Right? I hope everyone got this. So probably the better approach, because you only have to convert one number at the end instead of converting all the numbers. Although in this case, the calculation was fairly simple. It was not that difficult. You simply had to multiply each number by 3. But in case of other questions, so in case it was 260 students instead of 300, in that case, the calculation would have been a little much more, or not been so easy. So then probably you would have taken a little more time. So in such questions, it makes sense to keep it in percentages and then convert at the end, right? Fine. Everyone got this? Any doubts? Any doubt in terms of the concepts? Anything that you want me to talk about again? Or I hope everyone got whatever we talked about, what we discussed. So including this method, right? T minus S is 2 plus 2 times 3. Okay, fine, great. Okay, so again, in terms of the sessions, that's it. In terms of the session, that's it. Let me open the session for doubts. So I think Ayushi had posted something. As we have the option to choose a section we want to start the paper with, which one is good? Yeah. So you have 3 options, right? I hope everyone knows this. So you can do the normal or the section order. Before the 10th of July was this. There was only one section order. So you had AWA, IR, quant, and then verbal. Right? This was the section order and you couldn't change it. But post the 10th of July, you have 3 options. So one is this. One is this. I think IR comes first and then AWA, I guess. Okay, and then VQ and again IR, AWA. Okay, I'm not sure of these two. Probably it's the other way around, but anyway, really doesn't matter. So these are the 3 options that you have. So quant, verbal, this, and this. Obviously, the one section order that you should not be taking is this for sure. Okay, this is a big no-no. So no one ideally should be doing this, right? You never want to keep verbal at the end. I mean, by the time you reach the verbal section, you will be spent completely in terms of energy. So don't choose this order. Apart from this, either of these 2 is fine. Okay, it completely depends on your preference. So whichever section is good for you, I think if you're comfortable solving verbal first, or if you're comfortable in verbal, then probably you can do this. If you're comfortable with quant, then you can do this. Ensure that you choose a section you don't. So, for example, if you're not really good in quant, I wouldn't recommend going for this because The reason being that if you screw up your quant, then you will be thinking about it once the verbal section starts. And probably that's something that you should not ideally be doing. So if your verbal section is good, then probably I think it makes sense to start with this. Okay, but then it's a generic preference. I think you can go for either one of these. Not really something that is, something that is, there's no advantage of one over the other per se. Fine. Anything else? Any other queries? Yeah, let me just go back. So in case you missed it. So this is the online course. So I'll be starting from Monday, and the entire schedule has been put up. This is a tentative schedule, so I should ideally stick to these sessions, but in case something comes up, I may have to postpone it and so on. But again, I'll let you know well in advance, so don't worry about that. And the timing is from 9 to 10:30 as we did today. Fixed number of, okay, let me, so Jarvis, this is the thing basically. So if you are paying before the start of the session, before Monday, then it is 14,000. If you pay after 14th of August, then it is 18,000. So I'm giving a bit of a discount before the start. So the 14,000 is for the entire course. So quant plus verbal plus one session of IR. Only verbal package, if I'm not mistaken, I think it is right now. It should be, I don't know. I think it is 11,000. Just check the post that I put up. Okay, I will let you know. I'll just put it on the group again. I think you can take a look. Should we buy any paid prep test for mocks? Ayushi, do you mean that? So if you're talking about mocks, then yes. Ideally, you need one good test. So either Manhattan or Veritas or Kaplan. According to me, this is the order. So this is the order. So first is obviously GMAT prep and exam pack. This is obviously the best. Next comes Manhattan. And next will be Veritas or Kaplan. So this is the order which I prefer. Manhattan is generally really good. So the quant questions are pretty tough, much more tougher than the actual GMAT, but then it's really good practice. Verbal is almost about the same. So no, you don't need to buy all of them. You can buy only one of them. So either purchase Manhattan or purchase Veritas or purchase Kaplan first. If you exhaust all your mocks, then of course, then you can think of purchasing more. But for the time being, if you want, you can purchase only the Manhattan one if needed. There is a discount going on with the Veritas mock. So it's available for $10 currently. So in case someone is interested, then you can purchase it right away. It's only available for a few more days. Okay, so there are some 7 mocks that you get with Veritas for $10. I think makes sense. GMAT prep is free. Okay, Ayushi. So the GMAT prep software is free. The exam pack has to be purchased separately. So the exam pack, in case you need it, you can purchase that. Then you will get 2 additional tests. So the GMAT prep software is the official software from the MBA.com website. It's the actual official mock from MBA.com. So you get 2 mocks along with this software. If you want to purchase additional tests from the official source, then you have the exam pack 1 and you have the exam pack 2. So you get 2 again from here, 2 again from here. But these 4 have to be purchased separately in case you need. Yeah, my suggestion, Ayushi, is this, that you exhaust all the free resources first. So my suggestion is don't use the GMAT prep for now. Keep that on hold. Keep that till the end. So take that only around 15 days before your actual test date. Right now, what you should be doing is take the free mocks of each of these. So take the free mock of Manhattan, take the free mock of Veritas, take the free mock of Kaplan. So each of these have 1 free mock. Once you're finished taking this, then you can purchase any one of these 3. Okay, then you will get around 6 or 7 tests. Then you can start doing or using one of these. And once you're done with those 6 or 7, then probably you can decide whether you want to purchase more mocks or do you want to take the GMAT prep. So I think that will be better than purchasing all of them at one go. Okay, exam pack is of course the official source, right? So of course it's going to be good. So, but then I don't know whether you should be purchasing it right away. Maybe it makes sense to wait till the end moment and then purchase it if needed. Okay, is there any fixed number of types of questions in the GMAT quant? Is it possible for an average person? Again, average is something that is very subjective. You may think that you're average, but I mean, you may be really good in terms of quant, or it only takes you a little bit of time to grasp the entire thing. So I will not really go into what that means, but basically, on the whole, the GMAT quant is something which is extremely logical in nature. So you won't be getting tested on very abstract concepts. So it's very basic conceptual things that we have learned right in school. So it's just simply practicing enough number of questions to ensure that you sort of know all the question types. So fixed number of types of questions, yes. In terms of topics, these are the kind of topics that you will see, right? So set theory, rates and work, statistics. These are the common topics that you will see in quant. Okay, Veritas is good. Yeah, Veritas is good. Veritas is decent. So you can purchase that. I don't have a problem with that. So you can purchase it right now. Since it's available on a discount, makes sense to purchase it right away. Okay, if I start my prep with you, 14th August, daily prep for 4 hours, when should I book my actual test? Okay, 4 hours is a bit of an overkill. You don't really need to prepare for 4 hours every day, to be honest. I think it's not as rigorous as that. It's a very easy exam. You should keep your mind mentally fresh. So, but anyway, if you're starting on the 14th of August, then you can look at a timeline around 2.5 months from 14th. So that's a generic timeline that is applicable for any person. So on an average, it takes around 2.5 months to sort of, to first of all understand the concepts, plus to start taking mocks and then reviewing, then practice questions. So it takes around 2.5 months. But I would not recommend you to book the test right away. It makes sense to wait a little bit and then get yourself up to a good enough level and then book the test, because you don't want that pressure of having the test looming in the near future. So I think it makes sense to sort of wait and then book the date a month before when you actually want to take it. Okay, you need practice for verbal. From where should I do practice questions? I think practice questions, mainly in terms of good questions, Magoosh has a really good website. So they have a lot of good questions for verbal. Maybe you can go to the blog and then look at the questions there. Apart from that, I think GMAT Club will be the best source for practice. So you simply go to the forum to gmatclub.com, and I think you can start solving the questions there. So I think that will probably be the best source. If you don't want to purchase anything, that is. If you wish to purchase, then probably I think you can use the Magoosh, the premium version, or the Kaplan one. But no, they are not paid. So the Magoosh blog is not paid. The Magoosh, if you want the actual question bank, then of course it is paid. But if you simply go to the Magoosh blog, you will find a lot of questions given there and you can probably try them out. GMAT Club is completely free. Okay, just Manhattan Quant books are enough, or you would recommend selective please don't use Sarvesh Kumar. Please don't use any CAT books for GMAT. They're not really recommended. So stick to authentic GMAT material. So if you're using the Manhattan books, I think that should be fine for concepts. Okay, so don't use Arun Sharma, don't use Nishit Sinha, don't use anything else which is meant for the CAT. So use only either the Manhattan books or the Veritas or the Kaplan books for quant. I think that should be fine. So if you're using the Manhattan books, if you have that with you, then probably it makes sense to use those. Okay. Fine. Anything else? Yeah, I have OG 2017 book. Should I buy OG 2018? Doesn't really make sense, to be honest. I think if you have the 2017 book, there are only a few more additional questions in 18. So you can stick to 17 is my suggestion. I really don't see a point in purchasing the 18 book again. Okay, how much set theory have we covered today? Concept-wise, we have covered conceptually everything. In terms of the first session that we will be doing on Monday, I will be covering the concepts again, but I'll give you fresh questions to solve. So the questions will be different. Okay, so the first day is also an introduction to GMAT, which I forgot to mention here. So introduction to GMAT plus set theory. So I'll be talking a bit about the GMAT, and we'll be explaining a little more in detail about kind of mocks, what material to use, how you should prepare for it, what should be a good study plan, and so on. So I'll be doing that on the first day, and then of course we'll be covering the rest of set theory on that day. Any more free sessions? At least nothing is planned so far, Ayushi. I don't know, to be honest. So let me see if there is something that can be done. Then maybe I can try and do it maybe a couple of weeks from now. What's the actual difference in B schools taking GRE and GMAT scores? Generally it's a little dicey, or it's not very well known, to be honest. So there are schools which have started taking GRE as well, but then ultimately the GMAT is the actual test for B schools per se. So ideally, what you would want to do is to go to the actual B school website and then take a look at their what is the what is the criteria for that particular school. So if you're taking the GRE instead of the GMAT, then you need to ensure that you get the corresponding GRE score. What basically they're looking for in the GMAT score, the corresponding GRE score you need to get. So I think better makes sense to probably go to the school website and then take a look. So I take the GRE or the GMAT, again, not something that is very easily answerable. On the exam front of things, the quant in the GRE is very simple, much more simpler than the GMAT. So you can easily score a perfect score in the GRE, on the GRE. But the verbal is much more tougher as compared to the GMAT. So according to me, the reading comprehension passages are tougher, and vocabulary, of course, is something that you need to know. So if you're more comfortable learning or mugging up words or learning words contextually, probably the GRE makes sense. But in terms of selection into a B school, the situation is not very clear. So if you're taking the GRE, ensure that the school, first of all, accepts GRE as a score, and also take a look at the criteria that they have mentioned for GRE. Probably that will give you an idea as to what cutoff score do you need. Okay, M-Form from School of Open Learning is considered as a degree for completing. To be honest, I'm not really sure, Ayushi. I think if you want, you can simply mail your query to the school that you are applying to. I think usually they are pretty, they are pretty good in terms of responding. So I think they will respond to your query. So you can take a look, because I don't want to tell you something which is incorrect. I think it makes sense to ask the school directly. Okay, does probability and combinatorics have a fixed syllabus? Fixed syllabus per se, yes. I mean, there is a boundary around which most of the questions will revolve. So probably, yeah. In terms of what we will cover in the session, I think that should be enough in terms of the theory. Masters in Finance, again, look at the school. Ayushi, I think look at the school. Probably that will help you understand what people are taking. So whichever school you're targeting, I think take a look at the admission criteria. Probably that will help you understand. Boundary for quant topic, you generally tend to know the kind of or the theory. So for example, if you're reading the Manhattan books, you know that most of the questions, or 80 to 90% of the questions, will lie in the boundary of whatever has been explained in the Manhattan books. The remaining 10%, of course, will be something which is not outside the boundary per se, but then it is based on logical leaps from whatever you have learned. So it won't be something very outlandish. It won't be something which, you have no clue about. It will be something that you know, but you have not done a question of that type. So if you have done the Manhattan books, then probably I think that should sort of ensure that you know at least most of the questions for quant. After that, the remaining questions, it's simply solving questions and then doing more of them. That's it. GMAT club tests. So GMAT club tests are good for quant, but they are extremely tough. So I would recommend using them only if you want to target a 50 or a 51 in quant. If you're already at a 45 or a 46 in quant and you want to target a 50 or a 51, use the GMAT club tests. Otherwise, I really wouldn't recommend them. So if you are below 30 or below 40, don't use the GMAT club tests. It will sort of demoralize you. So they are extremely tough. So don't do that in case you are at that level. In case you are at 46 or 47, then probably use them. I think that will be better. Great. Okay, anything else? Fine. I think let's wrap up. I hope the session was useful. Again, just giving you a primer for the online course, but irrespective of that, irrespective of whether you join or not, I hope the session was useful. Okay, fine. Let's see. Let me see if I have time. To be honest, I'm completely packed for the weekend. In case I have time, let me try and squeeze it in. If not, I do have. So what I can do is, once I take the critical reasoning session, I will upload it and I will make it free for upload for viewing. And probably you can take a look later on. I think that will be okay. Okay, so it's a little difficult for me to do all sessions, right? So I think maybe the CR one I can do it for free. Let's see. Yeah, I'll put it up on the group. Okay, I'll put it on the GMAT group. Fine. I think great. Yeah, let's stop for the day. I hope the session was useful. Again, feel free to give me any feedback if you have any. And if you're joining the course, great. I'll see you on Monday. All right. For the rest of you, in case you need any help, again, feel free to get back to me. All right. Yeah, great. Thanks. Good night.